In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, these brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Brian Fry, Chad Robinson, Dyson Lizzy Haynes, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears.
Welcome all you lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable, the podcast where we watch movies and then talk about them. I am your host, Chad Robinson. Russell wrote Lizzy Haynes. I am not Ron Burgundy, but I do have Lizzy Haynes with me. She's my good friend and co-host. It says, Chad Robinson, Russell, what are you doing to me? Lizzy, not Chad. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about today's movie, and I'm excited to talk about it with our special guest.
Yes, back once again, quickly becoming my favorite guest due to the movies you shortlist, Leah Weisman from Louisville, Kentucky. Leah, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks, Chad.
Yes, I'm very excited for the movie today. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but I will give our warm-up question that might give you a hint. So today's movie is a child's storybook told on film, much like our episode of Shrek, where you can also check out Leah and Lizzy. It was a great episode. What is a children's book adapted to film that you love? We'll start with you, Leah.
You already said Shrek, so I'm not allowed to say that.
You can say Shrek. Shrek's awesome.
Lizzy?
I will say Chronicles of Narnia. That is hands down my favorite. I love the movies, and I love the book even more. I read it every Christmas.
Oh, wow.
I didn't say Harry Potter because I know who I'm talking to.
That's fine. I have no issues with people that like Harry Potter. I was on the wrong side of that divide. 1984s, we just did not get on board. 1985s were like all in. So it's just a weird cultural divide. But hey, Harry Potter, good. I'm glad people like things. With me, I watch, it's not a direct adaptation, but Jack Black's Goosebumps. It's better than it should be. I watched it with my daughter. It was a lot of fun.
That's a deep cut.
That is. I love anything with Jack Black in it. And Goosebumps were my childhood. So that's a great choice.
He is tearing it up on the Billboard charts right now with the song from the Mario movie, the Peaches. So we did see that. That was a good time. My daughter loved that. That was not the last movie I saw in theater. I will kick this to you all. What's the last movie you watched, Leah?
I did not come prepared with that because have you guys watched The Last of Us?
Yes.
I just watched the episode with Nick Offerman in it, and it's haunting me, and I cannot think about anything else. So, Chad, I don't know if you've seen that show or not.
I'm familiar, yes.
But so if anybody wants to unpack that with me later, I would appreciate it because it was like so good and so haunting of an episode, like a bottle episode. Like It was crazy good. So anyway, that's on my mind. It's been a while since I've been to the movies.
Took us
clickers.
To figure out who that was. We were like, who is that guy? Because he's got such a big fluffy beard, and so it finally clicked a little farther through.
Lizzy, what was the last movie that you saw?
So the last movie that I saw was 2 nights ago. My husband and I are in bed scrolling, kind of doing let's just pick something that we've seen. That way we can just fall asleep. And we picked Not Another Teen Movie.
Ooh, wow. You know what? That one's better than it has any right to be, too.
I completely agree with you. We were like, neither one of the intent was to pick a movie that would make us fall asleep. We stayed up for the whole thing. We're like rolling around, just laughing so hard. And it's hilarious that then you're watching it and you're like, this is baby Captain America. And then he goes on to have this humongous career, but just to watch him in the start as Jake Weiler, oh my gosh, that's a raunchy comedy that holds up for me.
Yeah, I'm sure that banana scene has not haunted him in any way, shape, or form. So, I do love that movie. What's a song with Janie in it? And then they sing Janie's Got a Gun. Fantastic. Yeah, I would stay up for that. All those other not another, like they get grouped in. That one's good. All the other ones are pretty terrible.
I would agree with that. The scary movies and then that one, I feel like were the only ones that really had any merit.
Yes. Yeah, the one is a disaster movie and all that stuff. I I actually went to theaters. I saw Evil Dead Rise, and it's intense. It is very intense. It's very gory. If you saw the most recent Evil Dead in 2013, there's a lot of gore in that one too. It's what you would expect. I had a good time. It's my favorite horror movie of the year. But if children are like children being attacked by monsters is not your thing, this is not your movie because these kids have a hard life. So
I appreciate Evil Dead. I respect it as a franchise, but it is not for me. I do not do gore. It's too hard to get through. Watching someone just mutilate themselves, I cannot do it.
I don't love it either.
that is Evil Dead's thing. Someone has to get mutilated, and it happens a couple of times. So yeah. If it's not your thing, this movie will not change your mind. So
It is what it is.
Yeah.
yes. But a movie that everyone should be on board with. Leah, this was one of your short lists. This is the first time it came up. We pounced on it. Lizzy, can you tell us what movie we're going to cover today?
Yes, we are going to do 1987's The Princess Bride.
First time. Shame on all the guests prior to this point.
Right?
This isn't
I cannot believe it.
200 some episodes. It has not been shortlisted. But anyways, it stars Cary Elwes, Mandy Patinkin, Chris Sarandon, Christopher Guest, Wallace Shawn, André the Giant, Fred Savage, and Robin Wright. Has a budget of $16 million. It's released in 1987. It grosses about $30 million domestically. That's good enough to place it at 41. A movie that placed right ahead of it is Nuts. I have no idea. Movie that placed right behind it was Revenge of the Nerds 2. This carries an IMDb rating of 8.0. The critics love this movie, 98%. Audience score right up there at 94%. It does win, or as an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Song, Storybook Love, which is performed by Willie DeVille and produced by Mark Knopfler. AFI distinctions, it is on the 100 Passions list at number 88. It is nominated for top movie quotes for Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And it is top 10 on fantasy films. It's nominated, did not make it on AFI. So a lot of nominations. Actually doesn't seem like they know what to do. Is it a passion? Is it a fantasy? We'll get into that. And then to round it off, we have 100 Laughs. Again, nominated, but not making the cut. So it's always the Princess Bridesmaid, never the Princess Bride. It does get the 84th best screenplay of all time from the Writers Guild of America. This was not a major box office success. It becomes a cult classic once it hits home video. For the kids at home that don't know, we used to have to go to a store and look at box art and then rent based on the box art. So yeah, there was no previews, anything. We just said, okay, this is
Fridays at Blockbuster, we're popping.
That's right.
Absolutely. Hollywood Video for our family. We didn't know Blockbusters in West Virginia for a while. Leah, we'll start with you. This was on your short list. Had you seen this movie before?
I literally could not count how many times I've seen this movie. This is one of my dad's favorites, so he raised me correctly on this film. So yes, I have definitely seen this film many times. And I read the book. I'm one of those people.
Nice. Is it better than the book?
No, the book's really, really good. I highly recommend it. But the guy who wrote the book wrote the screenplay, and he did an incredibly elegant job of streamlining some of the story. And I don't think he sacrificed anything. So it was really good. If you just want to live more in the Princess Bride world and hear more backstories on all the characters, the book is a great option for you.
Excellent. So did you like this movie when your dad first showed it to you, and do you think it holds up?
It gave me nightmares. The ROUSs were really scary when I was little. That, and we watched Willow a lot when I was a kid, and there was stuff in that gave me nightmares too. So I watched it a lot. I don't even know that I realized I had a choice whether or not I could watch it. It was.
Yeah.
Dad put it on, I watched it. So
Right.
it's just a part of the fiber of my being.
Yeah, but I guess we didn't really have a choice. It was just like, you're doing this or nothing. There's no Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever. There are no alternatives.
We had like 3 tapes. That was one of them. That and Free Willy, which we watched every day.
Free Willy.
I mean, great song. I haven't rewatched the movie, but it's a great song.
Well, let's put it on our list.
Oh, no, thank you. Airbud first. Lizzy, had you seen The Princess Bride?
I had. So I was a late bloomer with Princess Bride, though. So I hadn't even heard of the movie until I was in college, which feels really crazy looking back now, because I know more people who are more in Leah's camp, where it was like their childhood movie that they grew up watching. My college roommate, it was like we decided to stay in, order in, and she got to pick the movie, and she had on DVD, which also young children, it's like a CD-ROM thing, which I understand you don't know what that is either. It's like a disc that you put inside
A physical copy of the movie. Yeah.
Right.
You watch the movie. And she had it, and I just gave it a shot and really, really fell in love, because I loved fantasy stories. Labyrinth was always a really big movie for me growing up. So this had kind of almost the same undertones and the same feelings, where it's just like really mythical and magical, but also somehow campy. And I really fell in love with it as a movie. I think it absolutely holds up. I hope they never remake it, because it's perfect as is, but it does absolutely hold up.
They keep trying. The entire cast has rebelled, but they keep trying. They're going to do it one day, and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
I have a whole recasting plan for you.
Oh, no. I'm intrigued, though. I have seen this movie as well. I got to it pretty late. Of all weird circumstances, our youth pastor had a bunch of guys over to his house who he then said, I'm going to make you watch The Princess Bride.
It's a book.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of a scene in this movie where the grandson is like, is there kissing in this? None of us were excited. I think it was 13 or 14. And he just kind of said, yes, shut up. And you're watching this. So I was blown away. I really loved it. I don't know. We were teenage boys, so not a ton of us were talking about how passionate or how happy we were of seeing this movie at the time. But yeah, it's something that I'll revisit pretty frequently. Love the movie. I think it holds up really well. I see 1987. I keep thinking the movie is newer than that. It kind of seems timeless. Some of it's helped by the historical setting. So I enjoyed it the first time. I enjoy it every time I watch it. It's just a charming movie. Just oozes charm. If you, however, are in that camp of anyone that has not seen The Princess Bride, just turn us off. Go rent the video, Amazon, wherever, iTunes, just purchase it. You will thank us later. And that way we're not spoiling a wonderful movie for you, because after this ad break, Lizzy is going to spoil The Princess Bride. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason, and this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we're finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments too.
It's the All 80s Movies Podcast, now available on all major streaming platforms. Please subscribe and happy listening.
And we're back. Last warning before we spoil The Princess Bride. If you haven't seen it since 1987, please go watch it. Lizzy, can you break down what happens for us?
Yes. So Buttercup is a beautiful young woman living in a small farmland in the land of Florin. Buttercup has fallen in love with the farm boy Wesley, and it is real, true love. Wesley sails off to find his fortune, leaving Buttercup behind, but with the promise that he will return. 5 years pass, and Buttercup is now engaged to the charmless Prince Humperdinck. While on a morning ride, Buttercup is abducted by 3 bandits, a Sicilian, a giant from Greenland, and a Spanish fencing master, Inigo Montoya. While running off with Buttercup, they're ambushed by the dreadful pirate Roberts, of whom is said to have killed Wesley while at sea. Roberts fights Inigo Montoya, manages to get past the giant, and outsmarts the Sicilian. Roberts now has Buttercup to himself and tests her loyalty to her love. It's then that she discovers Roberts is in fact Wesley. The two embrace and decide to run away together, along with their new friends, the Giant and Inigo, who himself is on a journey to avenge his father. They barely make it through the fire swamp when they meet Prince Humperdinck. Buttercup trades her freedom in exchange for Wesley's safety, and Humperdinck agrees, and the two plan their wedding, along with his evil plot to start a war in the neighboring land. As their royal nuptials approach, Wesley manages to break into the castle and whisk Buttercup away. While in the castle, Inigo Montoya runs into the very man he's been searching for that killed his father, per the identification of his unique hand with 6 fingers. Montoya successfully avenges his father, and Buttercup is reunited with Wesley, her true love.
Very nice, very nice. So we talked about this is a children's book, and it's took a while to adapt. The author, William Goldman, he'd been trying to get this film made since the 70s, and he wanted a lot of control. He wanted to make sure this was done right, and he initially got his idea from his 2 children. He said, hey, what kind of book do you want? And one of the daughters said, I want a book about a princess. And the other said, I want a book about a bride. So he puts them together and makes The Princess Bride. And as we see this story unfold, it's actually read to us by the grandfather character. He's reading to his sick grandson. Do you guys like the narration part of this movie? And do you like having the action and other things interrupted by the grandfather and the grandson interacting?
Yeah, the way the book is written, it's not really a kid's book. It is young adult plus at best. So just setting expectations. If you want to pick it up, it's not going to be like a Once Upon a Time they kiss the end kind of thing. It's a long book. The way the book is written is William Goldman is pretending like he's abridging this large story written by somebody S. Morgenstern. And so the way William Goldman writes the book is he abridges it, shortened, he puts author's notes in. I mean, he wrote the whole thing, it's fake, but it's kind of a cute way for him to like create that narration and this like layered story where the author's breaking that fourth wall. So I thought it was cute how they kind of shift that over between the grandfather and the son reading. So you notice it kind of keeps the story light. So when the situation gets overly intense, you know, you'll see that interruption come through. Like, she does not die at this moment.
Right.
And
You look nervous.
Savage is like clutching the bedspread, and he's like, oh, okay. You know, so it makes it more palatable for more audiences, maybe smaller kids. You're not like riding through these really intense, scary moments or moments that are like too romantic. It kind of dials it back and makes it a little bit more palatable. So I thought it was cute, and it eases up the intensity of the story.
Yeah, I agree. I think it honors the fact that it's a book first. You know, it kind of pulls you back into that world, and watching the grandfather read it to his son. And I love kind of how we're joking around about previous technology. You know, he's like, back in the day, we had books. Like, we didn't have television. This is how we entertained ourselves. So yeah, I think it's really charming the way that they were able to work that in.
Yeah, Peter Falk's reassurance. I like his voice. He just has a very unique voice, and the interruptions of, yeah, don't worry, or even the antagonism in the end where it's like, it's a kissing scene, and the grandsons come around fully. I like having his story read to me. I'm an adult, and I still kind of like that sense of somebody sitting down with opening a book. There's something very just tactile about it, and just reading a book, even though we don't get that all the way. So yeah, and the grandson's outrage too of you're telling this story wrong. You got it wrong. Read it right, and just the frustration there of this character can't die. You got it wrong.
Get it right.
Yes, yes. Fred Savage, he does a good job of being an obnoxious kid. I'm notoriously difficult on children in films. He does his job here. He's be a snotty little brat that gets over the kissing. He's like, killed by pirates. That's good.
Well, you see, like at the beginning when he's sick and the mom comes in and she's like, Grandpa's here. And he's like, I don't want to talk to him. But by the end, he's like, do you think you could come back tomorrow and read it again? So you kind of see like the, his grandfather's cool now.
It's like a little arc for them.
Yeah. So there's like that little outside story too, which is nice.
Yeah. The bond between them and that final as you wish. Like,
yes.
I think the first time I saw it, it's like, oh, is he kind of reading a story about himself? Like, is this his love story? I think that's probably a bridge too far, but I don't know.
I listened to this podcast one time. I can't remember where it was, but someone was talking about how you feel about your children. And this is coming from someone who doesn't have children talking to two people who do. But it was like this, the progression of your life having a child and they grow up. And you almost have this, like, you feel like you have this unrequited love for your children. And you're always pining for them when they're gone. And you're always thinking about them. And they may not be thinking about you in the same way, And, you could think about the grandfather just, wanting to have that relationship with his son or grandson and reaching out. And,
Totally.
Grandson really wasn't thinking of his grandfather in that way at all. But they found a connection.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Call your grandparents, kids.
I know.
They won't be around forever, and that's a special relationship.
It really is.
Yeah, and the theme of this movie, like, they really stress true love. It's really helped. I thought this was cool. Cary Elwes and Robin Wright, they're actually smitten with each other. Cary Elwes says Robin Wright was distracting. He couldn't really focus on the set while they were filming because he was just so taken with her.
She's gorgeous.
They both are, honestly. Yeah. They're both very attractive and cute, and they look good together.
Yeah, they fit. The casting on this all around is just, it's perfection. But I don't think I would call this a romance film. How do you nail something like The Princess Bride down? Like, if you were to describe it to someone that has never seen this movie, what are you doing with it? What bucket are you putting The Princess Bride into, or buckets?
Comedy or dramedy, maybe, but it's so lighthearted.
It is so lighthearted, but I don't know. I'm reluctant to not take romance out of it because true love is almost this like character in and of itself. That's like this silent character that just kind of weaves itself throughout the movie, and you have. Everybody seems to have a different relationship with true love and a different take on it. Of course, Wesley and Buttercup tend to, particularly Wesley, seem like true love is like their North Star. And then you have other people who are a little bit more jaded, like
the Sicilian,
yes. And then I'm trying to
Miracle Max.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, I'm trying to think of his character. He's like,
I'm here for you.
True love is great, but have you ever had a mutton MLT?
MLT mutton lettuce, tomato,
nice and lean,
nice and perky.
Yes.
So I mean, everybody, and then of course, like Humperdinck and the Six-Fingered Man, they're kind of like the hyperbolic opposites of that. But I just think the way that they talk about true love, it's so palpable that I think you can't really take romance out of the picture, but it is a lot more. I would agree.
I know Rob Reiner was the director, and I love him a lot. I think he was very talented. But the little dialogue quips that are throughout the movie are so funny and they're so good. And as I got older, you know, like watching it again, there's no like off-color jokes or anything, but there's like jokes that I did not really get as a kid.
Like the one about breasts. That one flew right over my, even at 18, that like flew right over my
With a shortage of perfect breasts, it would be a shame to destroy yours.
Yeah. And he's right. He's right. Yeah. True Love, Lizzy, you're right. I think True Love is its own character here. It's what's guiding Buttercup. It's giving her confidence with Humperdinck. She keeps annoyingly saying, and I kind of like Humperdinck rolling his eyes every time. It's like, it's true love. He'll be here. And Humperdinck is barely holding back. I killed him. Like, he's dead. He's never coming back. He's never coming for you, whatever. And just every single day, it's true love. He's coming back. Mm-hmm. It is. It's what saves him literally from being mostly dead. And I do like the book that says the best thing is cough drops. Instead of the MLT, we get cough drops. So I like the mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich.
Yes.
I mean, I think the giant also has great love for the Spaniard, you know, Inigo, and he saves him.
It's like a friendship.
So, you know, after they all get defeated by the dread pirate Roberts and the Sicilian's dead, and he was kind of the brains of the operation, an unkind one, but still the brains. And so Inigo, and there's tons of backstory in the book, obviously, but Inigo has a drinking problem, which I think you pick up on pretty well in the movie, but there's a lot about it in the book. And the giant comes to find him and you know, nurses him back to health, you know, gets him sober again and helps him refocus. And, you know, Fezzik, the giant, was looking for him. You know, so there's different kinds of love in this story.
That is a great scene when he's sobering him up and he just takes him by the head.
Him in the
yes, just what I assume is hot and cold water, but yeah.
Probably getting him to clean it out of his pores or something. I don't know. I hope no one ever does that.
Yeah, it's like like a swirly almost. It's like,
yeah. And someone like André the Giant, he's palming you like a basketball. It's just, he could take your entire head in his hand. He's just a massive individual. There are pictures of him holding a beer can, and it just looks like a child's toy in his hand.
My dad said he met him once at a bar, and they were having drinks, and he had one of those like full-size beer steins and his hand was wrapped around it. And my dad said you could not see the beer stein at all because his hand was so big.
Yeah, massive individual. There are stories of him passing out in hotels, like in the hallway, and no one could move him, so they just put a blanket over him.
Unfortunately, by the time they filmed this movie, I can't remember where I heard this, but he had hurt himself so much being like a wrestling star, and his back was shot. And so at the end, you know, when he catches Robin Wright,
oh yes,
they actually put like lines on her and like gently dropped her down, even though she was like, I think they said she was like maybe 110 pounds, like she's tiny, but he couldn't catch her. Like physically, his body was so wrecked by then, you know, and I don't think he lived much longer after this movie, but they had to do a little bit of movie magic on that one so he could catch her.
Such a delicate little fall, like the way she's like,
and all of her robes are billowing gently.
It's a very nice scene. Yeah, you're right. He was in a lot of pain. He was driven around on an ATV. He kept trying to convince Cary Elwes to do it, and Cary Elwes kept turning him down. And then the one time he did, Cary Elwes wrecked. He wrecked and he broke his foot, which actually makes it into the movie. So he like bent his toe enough that it broke, and you see him kind of hopping into the fire swamp. That's why he sat down and starts taking off his boot when she
falls into the quicksand.
Well, when he meets Buttercup right before they fall down the hill, like before she shoves him, he takes off his boot and everything. But yeah, the fire swamp right before the quicksand, he's got a little limp. He's got a hitch in his giddy up. And that is from listening to André the Giant. But yeah, he's in bad shape. I think they used braces and things like that because he couldn't even do the fight scene. So, great guy though. everyone has a fun story. We've been to a Princess Bride panel, and just everyone gushes about André and how nice. And for him, he says this is the first movie where people treated him normally, like they treated him like an actor. So I love that for him. And we've talked about it a little bit already, but I'll just get into my question. We've got Wesley and Buttercup, and they're great characters on their own, and we can talk about that. But the supporting cast, I feel like, is what really makes this movie. It takes it from good to great. Do you all have a favorite character? Like, what characters are the ones that stick out to you the most, and why?
I love Miracle Max and his wife Valerie. So his wife Valerie is by Carol Kane, who's in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and if you haven't watched that show, it's hilarious.
No.
Yeah,
That's it.
He's
No,
like,
no.
get away, witch! I'm not a witch. I'm your wife. That's what she said. I don't think I want to be that anymore.
Her just following him around, screaming, "Humperdinck, Humperdinck, Humperdinck."
Funny.
She is fantastic.
Yeah, so that pair for me, just incredible scene. They're so funny. I love it.
I love Wallace Shawn. I just feel like he's perfection. I think if you were to tell me to cast, like, if describe to me the Sicilian and then I were to cast him in the movie, I don't think that he would have been the person that my mind would have gone towards. But nonetheless, he is perfection. Like, he just does it so perfectly. He's so memorable.
He's got an amazing voice for stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just perfection because he's not particularly scary or tough looking, but he does have a sliminess to him that really works and yields itself to the character.
And arrogance that he does very well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think one thing about this movie too is that it's also really self-aware. You know, it is a fairy tale and it's, you know, there's some parts that are intended to be earnest, but a lot of it also is kind of almost in the same vein that we did with Shrek, where it's kind of a self-aware fairy tale. And so I think that there's a comedic element that Wallace Shawn brings to the table as well, with just being really over the top and eccentric. That also just, I mean, that scene with him and the cups, it's so memorable.
Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates?
Morons.
He's fantastic, and I hate how much he doubted himself for that role. So he understood whether this is true or not. I couldn't find it, but he thought Danny DeVito was the first choice. And so he spent this entire movie thinking he was going to get fired and that they were still trying to get Danny DeVito. And so he's extremely nervous. Co-star Cary Elwes said he was sweating during that Battle of Wits scene, which it doesn't really show. Maybe that nervous energy works in his favor, I think.
Yeah.
And Rob Reiner had to step in and say, this doesn't have anything to do with you being American and not Sicilian. He said, Vicini's voice is your voice in the book. So he kind of gave him a little reassurance. But yeah, I love Wallace Shawn. We covered him in my dinner with André. Like, that was the sole reason I picked that movie. And it's made worse by just standing next to André the Giant. He makes tall men very, very small. But you've got little tiny Wallace Shawn, who is bossing him around, and Fezzik just takes it. Which, by the way, that was almost Arnold Schwarzenegger. They wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 70s, and by the time the 80s hit, Schwarzenegger was way too expensive, but that was the first choice.
He wasn't street enough. I don't think he would have been able to do it. André the Giant had this, like, gentle giant, quite literally a gentle giant, where I feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't feel like he has the humility to pull it off.
Somebody hasn't seen Kindergarten Cop.
I sure have. Jingle All the Way and some of his other movies, but I think I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I just don't think he has.
He's just not as sweet.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
The interesting thing about those three characters, the Sicilian, the Spaniard, and the giant, they all kind of have these three vices that are like holding them back. Vizzini's is obviously his arrogance. Mm-hmm. He doesn't overcome it and he dies. Inigo is suffering from obsession and he's freed at the end. he lives.
That's cool.
Surprisingly, because he got stabbed in the gut.
Yes.
And Fezzik, he just demonstrates just too much humility, like a lack of confidence in himself, and maybe thinking for himself a little bit. And so, at the end, he was like, "Hey, I saw all these horses, and I thought, probably going to need these, 4 of us if we get the lady. Hello, lady." So, he's kind of overcoming that at the end.
Something right.
Yeah, and he like took some initiative and did something. So I just thought that was fun to see like 2 of them overcome maybe some of their challenges, and the one who didn't make it. So
he gets berated early on. Vicini's like, "Am I going mad, or did the word think escape your lips?" So he's highly discouraging thinking. We've highlighted the 2, but Mandy Patinkin says this is his favorite role. And he's got a ton of roles, but Inigo Montoya, he's so compelling. Like you believe him instantly. You fall in love with the whole rope scene of just the banter back and forth between Wesley and Inigo of, "This is much harder than it looks. Can you throw me a rope?" And finally we get that moment of, "I swear on the soul of my father, Domingo Montoya, you shall reach the tops alive." It's like, "Throw me the rope." I think from that point, we're engaged with him. Like, okay, this is both him and Fezzik are sporting. Fezzik misses with the rock. He even comments to Vicini of, "This doesn't seem very fair." So we get this sense of fairness and justice in them. And Inigo keeps saying, "I don't want to kill you. Very well, I don't want to die," or he'd be ashamed to die. And to get that final scene of revenge against the Count, that is fantastic. You get the repeated, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya," over and over and over, and you just hear, "Stop saying that," and it becomes more and more powerful. I love everything about his character. It's just so fun.
He is amazing. He's a man of honor. Yeah, I agree.
Dedicated to his craft.
Yes, you really respect him. And I like how when he gets to the top, when Wesley gets to the top, he's like, "I'll let you rest." Like,
yes.
It's like a true gentleman. And I agree. It's very, you really do become attached to him after that, because you just realize that there's so much more than meets the eye to him.
Their duel kind of reminded me of like chess, like the Queen's Gambit, when we were watching that, like, because he talks about, "Oh, you're using the so-and-so's defense against me."
Yes.
Well, this is because of the uneven terrain, he like knows he has the knowledge of classic fencing and stuff. And there's like a deep dive in the book on his background and how much he studied and became a master, and how much that mattered to him, because he had one single goal in life, and it was to avenge his father's death and kill the 6-fingered man. And so he became such a master of the sword for this one end.
I like it. They should have made a sequel, because at the very end, when he's like, I don't know what to do. I've dedicated so much of my life to revenge.
I've been in the revenge business for so long.
Yes. And he's like, have you ever thought about being a pirate? You'd make a great Dreadful Roberts. And I'm like, that's a movie I would watch, is because like he kind of gets a little intrigued about it, and I would have watched a spinoff
Inigo
movie.
As the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yes, I think he would have been so good. And people would have bought tickets for that for sure.
The Dread Pirate Roberts is so funny to me. I manage marketing for a small business, and the power of branding with the Dread Pirate Roberts is so strong. You have to create this air of authority and and strike fear into the hearts of your crew and everyone that you're going to pillage, and that image is everything. And it doesn't matter if you are the Dread Pirate Roberts or the next guy is the Dread Pirate Roberts, as long as you are that scary threat, you get what you want. So that was fun.
We were like 3 pirates removed from Dread Pirate Roberts, at least, when he's recounting the story.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the last one's name was, but that is a fun twist of, okay, yeah, I took over the role, but the last guy, he wasn't Dread Pirate Roberts either. We get new crew, everyone's happy. Would I see an Inigo Montoya movie with Dread Pirate Roberts?
You would.
I guess. Yeah.
You
I
would.
would. I would. Yeah,
I don't
that's
think Mandy
fair.
Patinkin, I know he has like a rule that he doesn't play a character for too long. So I don't know that he would ever be enticed to do that again. He was in a show called Dead Like Me that was super good. So if you ever get a chance to watch it, first 2 seasons were incredible, but they had to like end it early because he was a central figure in that show, and he was like, I don't want to play this role for longer. And I think he prefers to bounce because I guess he was worried about getting typecast or something.
Yeah, I mean, do what you want. If you don't want to be tied down to something, play interesting characters. Christopher Walken does insane things every other day.
Sure does.
Their fight, it's called the greatest sword fight in modern times. I like how into it Cary Elwes and Mandy Patinkin got, and Leah mentioned that they're calling out these forms. They're the real forms, and they trained and studied and studied, and they watched all this choreography. And what they did was only about a minute long initially. And Rob Reiner was super underwhelmed. And he said, please go back to the drawing board, try again. So what we get in the final film is actually the 2 actors, other than the one like flipping scene that Wesley does on the bar. It's 3 minutes and 10 seconds. And so they went back and they watched all these swashbuckling movies for inspiration. The guys that worked on Raiders of the Lost Ark, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars films, it's Peter Diamond and Bob Anderson. So they helped coach them. So every spare moment they put their hearts into that scene. I don't know of too many sword fighting scenes short of like Pirates of the Caribbean that I would conjure up. It is listed as the greatest modern sword fight scene, but it's fun. I like everything about it. I'm more impressed that they both managed to do it, and it didn't just bring in professional fencers or something like that.
Right, for sure.
It's fun too because it's kind of a character relationship progression because it's almost not even an adversarial encounter. It's like they're building a respect for each other. The more they like fight with each other, the more they're like, oh snap, you're really good.
Right.
And then
Why are you smiling?
like, why are you smiling? And he's like, well, I'm not left-handed. And then he goes, oh, well, neither am I. And they both switch to their dominant hand, and they're like, they're both like excited that the other was doing that. And, when he knocks him out, he says, I would, he's like, just kill me quickly. And he said, I'd sooner destroy a stained glass, but as I can't have you following me, he knocks him out, so they like build this respect instead of like, an enemy relationship, which is fun.
Yeah, it is really cool.
Yeah, I don't think Inigo is ever really presented as a villain. Him and Fezzik are they're along for the ride. Vicini's clearly the bad guy here. He's like, I'll kill the princess myself if I have to.
Their henchman. Yeah.
He sets up this war, which we do have the conflict between Gilder and Florin. Is that actually compelling to anyone, or is this just more of a mechanism to set up everything else to get us from point A to point B?
So Humperdinck orchestrated that. I don't know if it's super clear in the movie, but Humperdinck obviously does not care about Buttercup. He picked a very beautiful woman that would be magnetic for his subjects, and he orchestrates a fake conflict with Gilder because she's disposable to him. So she's just a pawn for him in some kind of land battle or whatever. So it was more a political move. Yeah. Never get into a land war in Asia?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't care so much about the conflict that's happening. I kind of agree that they really give you minimal information about it. So I think therefore you're not so concerned. I think if anything in the movie, it's almost just a mechanism to...
It's a plot point.
Yeah, it's like a plot point to just further show you how evil Humperdinck is.
And give an excuse for how she goes through this whole adventure.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's one of the weaker things. It's like, okay, yeah, it's there. Humperdinck could probably have different reasons for being evil. I haven't read the book like Leah, but I do like Gilder and Florin are initially at war in the book, because Humperdinck was going to be married to a bride from Gilder who's very beautiful, but the wind blows off her wig and she's bald. And so he rejects her, and then they go to war over a spurned bride. So I think that's kind of fun. Here it's just like, okay, Vizzini cuts off the cloth and says, oh, this is Gilder cloth. We'll blame them and then get away with it. It's a mechanism, but Humperdinck himself, he's fun regardless of why he's doing this. He's our baddie, and he's a very good weasel. Do you like a cowardly bad guy, or are you more a fan of Count Rugen, who's our six-fingered man?
Can I have both?
Yeah.
I mean, we got both. We got both of this movie.
Yeah.
So
You've got the brains and you've got the muscle, yeah.
I think for this movie, so can't help but draw a parallel to another Cary Elwes movie that's also set in medieval times that I love, the Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yes.
It's like one of my favorite movies. Now that, talk about a movie that I had no choice to watch. That was a movie that I grew up watching. And, but I think when you're talking about a movie that has satirical elements to it, I enjoy a cowardly bad guy because it just kind of adds to the camp. You know, Austin Powers wouldn't be Austin Powers without Dr. Evil. You know, it really just like yields itself to the silliness of the movie to have this bad guy that's just kind of a worm of a person. And I think about in Robin Hood Men in Tights, you have like King John. Like he honestly has some of the best lines. I think they could have made Humperdinck sillier because of the fact that you have the Count. Because to Leah's point, that kind of gives you that yin and yang. So I'm here for a goofy villain.
Yeah, we do have an intimidating Count. Christopher Guest, he is our Count Rugen, our six-fingered man. He's apparently stronger than he knows, because Cary Elwes said during the scene in the fire swamp, just go ahead and hit me. It's fine. So Christopher Guest does hit him in the head with his fist, knocked him out, and filming had to be canceled. Production was shut down for a day. Cary Elwes went to the hospital, had a laceration on top of his head. So six-fingered man is very, very strong. Chris Sarandon in real life, he's a sweet guy that does great impressions. I do like his weaseliness here. I like a bad guy, even when he's tied up at the end and he says, I knew you were bluffing. Yeah. When Wesley falls over, we get that great scene of To the Pain, and his constant irritation with people. It's just fantastic with Wesley. It's like, yes, get over. Then my tongue, then my ears. I get the point.
Yes.
I get the point. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Of he's in a hurry for everything. He's entitled to the throne. He's entitled to his duel. Just shut up. Get it over with. He hits a sweet spot for me. I like a weasel villain. I don't like the unreasonably strong guys, but Count Rugen is intimidating.
I think the sweet thing about Count Rugen too is seeing that total 180 in his behavior, you know, when he's on the other side of the sword. Yes. And he's like, promise me anything you want and more, you know. Right. And he's, you know, promise me riches, whatever. And he's like simpering, you know, at that point, which is completely the opposite of how he is the rest of the movie.
Yeah, he gets a look in his eyes that just has a pleading without anything else being said. Yeah, he does say, you can have money, you can have whatever you want. And then we get the line of, I want my father back, which is a very powerful line. We did talk about Miracle Max as well. I do have to throw this in because it seems like being on the set would be a blast. I'm sad for Fred Savage. We saw this in recent years. He finally got to meet Cary Elwes. They were never on set together, but
they didn't do like a press junket together or anything?
No, they never met. But wow. Billy Crystal was a menace as Miracle Max, and people could not be on set, including our director, which is Rob Reiner. He would leave the set during any of Billy Crystal's scenes because he couldn't stop laughing. and he said he laughed to the point he was nauseated. Mandy Patinkin had the same reaction. He said he bruised his ribs laughing so much, and him actually laughing in the film, it makes it into the film when he says something like a noble cause, as in response to, what did he call true love? It's like blue something.
To blave.
Yes, to blave. Yes. And yeah, when we work out true love, Mandy Patinkin's stifling a laugh when he's like a noble cause and just under his breath. So I love that Billy Crystal is just terrorizing the cast by just being overwhelmingly funny. That's a lot of fun. We do have some recast, or at least alternate castings. We talked a little bit about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Richard Kiel, who plays Jaws in the James Bond franchise, he was also considered. They really wanted someone that was a giant.
Oh yeah, he would have been good.
I like him. He can do gentle, but he's still very intimidating. Liam Neeson auditioned for Fezzik, but Rob Reiner said,
Wait, what?
For Fezzik? I thought you were going to say for Wesley.
yeah, no, he for Fezzik. And Rob Reiner just scoffed and he goes, "You're only 6'4". I had no idea Liam Neeson was that tall, but that's I cannot see that one.
Yeah, he's got Ichabod frame.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't have.
Yeah, there were.
Get me.
I say that about my son all the time. He's very tall and
He's lanky.
skinny.
Yeah, he's lanky.
He's gonna be like an Ichabod kid.
There you go.
But yeah, I think Liam Neeson, no. But and also I've seen him do Goofy with animated voices and things. And he was a great good cop, bad cop in the Lego movie. But I don't know if I've ever seen him really be like, I just don't know if he could do it. I think that he has an earnestness to him that I feel wouldn't yield.
You haven't seen Taken?
Yeah, I believe he has a particular set of skills, but I'm not intimidated by his height.
Able to do the being like so discouraged. He'd be like, "Wait, what are you talking about? What are you thinking?" Like
He would probably make a better Sicilian.
Yeah, he would.
He could get over the accent. But
yes, I agree. I think he would have been a better. I mean, Wallace Shawn is untouchable, but I think he would have been better in that role than André the Giant.
Yeah, I agree. They nailed it with André. They had a lot of football players also try out for Fezzik, but André the Giant was the first choice. It was, hey, I don't think we can get André in the 70s, so we're going to go Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then couldn't get Schwarzenegger, and then it comes full circle, 80s. Arnold is very expensive. Go back and get André the Giant, which is fantastic. He's not a great actor, but it doesn't matter here at all. I think it just contributes to Fezzik's kind of erstwhile nature. He's a sweet soul. So
having the closed captioning on helps.
It sure does.
Pro tip, because Billy Crystal did say he had trouble understanding André the Giant sometimes.
Yeah.
So the part where André the Giant knocks on the door and he opens the door and he says, like, "Get the Brute Squad," and he says something about the Brute Squad. He goes, "You are the Brute Squad." There was like a miscommunication because he couldn't understand André the Giant when he was talking.
Yeah, he was worried about that, so he'd walk around with headphones, and they recorded all of his lines, and they would just play over and over for him so he could memorize them. So that's how he prepared for this role. We do have a ton of people for Buttercup. William Goldman said Carrie Fisher was his ideal choice. So she'd be Princess Leia and Princess Buttercup. I can see it, but I don't know that I want her in that many iconic things.
That doesn't jive with her vibe, I guess.
She's a little bit meaner.
I agree.
She's got too much of an edge to her.
Best way to put it is that she's got a mean streak in her.
She would play she would have played Princess Buttercup in a parody.
Yeah, she's got the farm boy thing down. I mean, she kind of treats Luke as a farm boy as well. We do have Uma Thurman. She auditioned for the role of Buttercup, but she was said to not have the classic princess look for the part. You can kind of see it.
She is a stunning woman, but she is quite angular, I would say. She's a very sharp face.
She is. She has
not in a bad way.
No, but it serves her well later in her career. But I agree. There's a harshness to her her.
Yeah,
aesthetic.
she's distinct looking. We also have Courtney Cox, and I don't want her with blonde hair here.
No.
No.
And it's the 80s, so we have to have Meg Ryan.
Uh,
I don't really see that either. I mean, I guess in a sense, but I just think Robin Wright was perfect
Yeah.
for it. I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm like I said earlier, I'm a big Labyrinth fan, so I could have maybe seen Jennifer Connelly in it perhaps, but I don't think that because I think she kind of had that same kind of whimsical, sweet element to her that just made Buttercup super likable. Robin Wright, I think, just hits it out of the park. It's really hard to envision anybody else.
I don't know. Part of that is just because of how ingrained this movie is to me.
It's possible.
But yeah, I cannot imagine any of those recasts very well.
Yeah, I have a hard time with a lot of them, especially like Courtney Cox. I look at that.
That's a hard no from me.
Okay. I like Courtney Cox. She's Gale Weathers. For me,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
We do have an alternate Wesley casting as well. So Superman himself, Christopher Reeve, was considered for the role. I can see it.
I could see that
I could
one.
see
I
that
can get
too.
behind that one.
I like it. Cary Elwes is just fantastic, though. He has this wit about him that I just love. And Christopher Guest actually took a demotion in this. He is a baron in real life. He is the 5th Baron Hayden Guest of Salling in Essex in the peerage of the United Kingdom.
What?
So yes.
So Christopher Guest?
Yes. So he is Count Rugen, but in actual real life, he is a baron. So interesting connections there. We do have Rob Reiner as our director. It took some work to get this movie. He'd been petitioning, and it wasn't until This Is Spinal Tap was made, and this will come up again for our soundtrack, that he was trusted. If you haven't seen This Is Spinal Tap, it is brilliant. It's so much fun. It's quotable, much like this movie. There will be things, if you're watching the movie, this one goes up to 11.
Yeah.
You'll just notice, oh, I've heard that phrase before. I had no idea that's where this came from. But that's what got him this movie. Rob Reiner is just knocking it out of the park for several years. He has this Spinal Tap, The Sure Thing, Stand By Me, Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, and A Few Good Men. Those are the first 8 years of directing. And he goes on for The American President, The Story of Us. He honestly hasn't done a ton lately that's worked out. We've got The Bucket List in 2007. Shock and Awe was his last one. But man, during the 80s, early 90s, he could do no wrong.
Well, he can rest now.
Yeah, he's fine. And this movie, like we've talked about, it's set, I don't know if there's a specific timeline, but medieval type fantasy world. It's the Kingdom of Florin. Most of this actually does take place in England. So our castle here is Haddon Hall, and that's a fortified country house, which good for that person. If that's what a house looks like, that's
It's
a
like
pretty...
Downton Abbey where it was filmed. People like actually live there.
Yes.
Crazy to me.
Yeah, it's like, this is a normal house. This isn't actually a castle. We can't afford to rent out the castle. And Billy Crystal, for his wardrobe, he goes and gets his Saturday Night Live makeup artist, which is Peter Montagna, I'm going to mispronounce that, who creates Miracle Max. And what he did is he brought in a picture of his grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
And said,
ouch.
Help me get this look. I don't recognize him as Billy Crystal. I mean, the voice is there.
Yeah, I had no idea that was Billy Crystal until probably a few years back when watching it. I mean, that flew right over my head.
That's the first thing I ever saw with Billy Crystal in it.
Yeah, not City Slickers.
He has such a recognizable voice that after, I'm a huge When Harry Met Sally fan, and I love him. I adore him. And of course my kids love Monsters Inc. So his voice is so distinct. So after watching it later, it kind of takes you a minute because like you
It
said,
tickles your brain and you're like, who
yes,
is that?
yes, that's the perfect way of putting it. It tickles your brain because you cannot like decipher who it is just by looks alone. So he does a perfect job. It's like the best cameo.
He is so fast. I was trying to keep up with some of the quotes between Vicini and Miracle Max. You just can't. Everything comes out just so quickly. It's so impressive.
It's a very witty script.
We do have a sad costume moment too. Mel Smith, he plays our albino character, which is another great side character. He's just kind of this side evil character that enjoys his job, but he's allergic to the contact lens solution. And he's just in agony during every one of his scenes. And he has terrible memories of this movie. So he has never watched any of his scenes from The Princess Bride.
Seems like a lot of effort and pain to go through to not appreciate the final product.
Right, yeah.
Right.
That almost would want you to like watch it to appreciate what you had to go through.
I mean, he did a great job.
Yeah, it's been almost 40 years. I would think you could just say, everybody loves this. Please watch it. Yeah, I'm sure he's watched around his scenes.
Yeah.
He's seen different things, but he won't watch himself because those red contacts just irritated him so much, and he was in
Just
so
to
much
that part
pain.
where he was like, nobody leaves the sorry.
Yeah, that weird voice.
We go through pain and agony for 10 months, and then we have to birth that's the difference between men and women. We stick it out, and then afterwards we're not like, wait, I can't
literally enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yes, you're like, I can't look at you. It's too much of a reminder of all the pain that you put me through.
There are probably days where that's true too.
Certainly, yes, but
that's when you say, I brought you into this world, I can take you out of it.
Yeah, my mom used to say that too. I mean, we were particularly rough with our, bless our heart, but we that's disappointing. I feel bad that he has such horrible memories of it.
Yeah, and we've got what I love in any of these 80s movies. We don't have CGI. We have to use practical effects. And one of the things that just never struck me until I was preparing for this podcast is the nightmare-inducing ROUSs.
Oh, God, yeah.
They are played by individuals. So they found little people that are in these costumes, and one of them was able to move very quickly. One is kind of plodding, and Rob Reiner is in the background. He's the one making all the growling and snarling noises. He loses his voice while doing this.
Okay, well, thanks for the nightmares, Rob. Appreciate it.
Yes. Well, it might help you a little bit. So the person that was supposed to get into a fight with Wesley, he was pulled over for drinking and driving the night before, and the officer refused to believe that this person was a stunt person or an actor in a movie, so he got thrown in jail. And they're looking for their actor for this ROUS, and they cannot find him anywhere because he's over in the drunk tank, just sleeping it off. So delayed filming a little bit, but the rodents of unusual size, I like them. And even if Wesley doesn't believe they exist.
Yeah, I don't believe they exist, and one jumps on him. Like the ROUSs, the rodents of unusual size. I don't know why, but that acronym is really funny.
Yeah, it's amazing the little touches that they get right. Like, why is it funny that you abbreviate rodents of unusual size? But
why don't you just call them like giant rats? Like, why? Yes. It's just really specific.
Mutant possums, whatever they are, like just trundling across your screen. And I promised we would get back to it, but This Is Spinal Tap got Mark Knopfler to score this film. And their agreement between Mark and Rob Reiner was, I'll do this film as long as you hide the hat from Spinal Tap somewhere in this film. So the hat that Rob Reiner wore in This Is Spinal Tap occurs in this film. Did either of you catch where it is?
No.
is in the grandson's bedroom.
I was just gonna ask, is it in the bedroom? Because I did notice like a bag of Cheetos.
Oh, the vintage Cheeto bag.
Yes.
Was,
And
yeah.
then, like this like weird Santa picture.
Yes.
In the background, so.
And the video game he was playing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yes, the 80s Atari baseball game, which they had to pipe in the sounds, but it was a real game. Did you all like the soundtrack for The Princess Bride?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm neutral on it. I don't know.
It felt like a video game to me because you'd have, so in saying how Wesley is talking with Humperdinck and they're, okay, so I'll marry you and in exchange for Wesley's freedom. And then Humperdinck drives off. It's like, bah, 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 bah.
Right, they do that a lot.
It's just so funny. It just reminds me.
It kind of reminds me of like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, what they're making fun of.
Yes.
Like they're making fun of that in Monty Python.
Yes, yes. It's so campy and hilarious. And I have to imagine that just because of the times, there had to have been some element of them that was taking that seriously. And if so, little did they know just how much it's going to like yield itself to just this movie being so cherished because it's just so silly.
It's campy, a little whimsical.
Yes, yes. And because there's really not, when there's dialogue, there's not a lot of background music. It's just really in those transitional moments. And it's very Mario, very Zelda. It's just this like kind of funny like keyboard tones.
Yes.
I've never thought about that before.
It's so funny.
The MIDI type things.
Yeah.
Cheesy 80 movies soundtrack.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Before getting this sheet, I had no idea anything was worthy of an Academy Award nomination. I'm kind of with Leah. It's there. I like it, but there's nothing that sticks out to me. This isn't Pirates of the Caribbean. This isn't Gladiator, although that's the same composer. So that's a little cheating. It's not Star Wars. It's not a John Williams type score.
Yeah, I don't really pay attention to soundtracks unless it's a musical. For the
That's
most
fair.
part.
That's fair. It's not distracting. We just did Ravenous, and I told Brian my soundtrack or score was please make this stop. They're doing just irritating combination of music, and this certainly isn't distracting me. And in the fun scene,
movie had really annoying music in it.
What's
Mandy.
that? Oh, that's fair. I love Mandy though.
I know you do, and I hate that movie.
That is an insane movie.
Curse
But
its
yes.
name.
Okay, I mean that's fair. That is not a movie that I would just go out without any other information on a person and be like, you should watch this.
That's what someone did to me. They just said, "Hey, let's watch this movie," and partway through, I was like, "Please stop making me watch this."
Yeah, that's a bad friend.
If you love me, you'll let me go.
You have to start with something like mildly insane. You cannot just jump into the deep end of Nicolas Cage with that. That's too much. Go watch Renfield. That's like mid insane Nicolas Cage. And
it's like on the spectrum. You have to like work your way in.
Yes, exactly. It's like, okay, if you like this,
Nicolas Cage spectrum.
I'm not a Nicolas Cage
No,
fan
I can't stand
at all. There's a new movie with him out where he plays, I don't know if it's actually Nosferatu or if it's just some other kind of vampire. And it's
Renfield.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yes, I was like so here for the movie, and then when they revealed it,
like,
Nicolas Cage, I literally was in the theater and I was like, "Oh, come on!"
That's fantastic.
Put Nickelback on.
Yes,
Nick Cage is like the Nickelback of actors.
He is the Nickelback of actors. Somewhere,
sorry, Chad.
Somewhere there's someone that likes him and appreciates him.
I love Nicolas Cage. I will see all of his movies.
There's a guy named Chad in Nickelback. I'm just saying.
No, that is my worst enemy. I've had this conversation with Lizzy. My wife owns an appalling number of Nickelback CDs. Like I didn't even know they had this many CDs. And when we first got married, I'm digging through. I'm like, how many of these do you have?
Can you cite that on grounds for divorce? Too many Nickelback CDs?
Irreconcilable differences.
Irreconcilable
Yes.
Here's, I'm submitting evidence, Your Honor, for review, and it's 5 Nickelback CDs with your wife's name on them.
That would be a perfect way to ruin this movie. It's just insert something from Chad Kroeger.
Instead of the bomb.
Look at this photograph.
Oh. You know what? I'm going to go back to things that make me happy. Nicolas Cage and movie superlatives. Is that okay?
Let's
Hand out some movie superlatives. MVP, director, actor, supporting actor. Leah, who are you putting as MVP?
Billy Crystal. For all reasons previously cited. I was between him and Carol Kane because they're both great and they play really well off of each other for those scenes. But like Miracle Max, unforgettable.
Have fun storming the castle.
Bye, boys.
Wow. Power couple. Okay. Lizzy, who is your MVP?
I put Cary Elwes. I just think he does funny so well because he's dry and he's self-aware, and I think overall like he just knew how to deliver Wesley in the perfect way. He makes it so perfect for me.
He is very, very, very charming. Like he's got that smarmy smile, almost borderline arrogance to him.
Yep.
Yeah, he's so much fun to watch. I loved when he would pop up on Psych. So he plays a burglar and torments the guys on Psych. So if you haven't seen that show, it's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. My MVP was Rob Reiner. I think when a movie succeeds at everything it's trying to do, it's really hard for me to not just cop out and say, hey, director, you did your job and you did it well. And every single detail of this movie, even the little tiny things, like making the MLT jokes, it's fun. There's nothing that is just glaringly wrong. So Rob Reiner is my MVP.
Sounds like he was part of the team pretty hands-on if he's voicing the ROUSs and talking Wallace Shawn down from his worries. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Very present boss, which is nice.
I'm so sad that he was insecure about that role. I mean, it kind of makes sense with Wallace Shawn. Like, I guess he's really partially those characters of a little bit insecure about himself, but don't be. You're awesome.
I mean, I'm sure being an actor, it's neurotic making all the time, you know?
Yeah.
I have never watched anything with myself in it. I won't listen to our podcasts most of the time. So
I was gonna say, when I listen for the edits, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, you either have like an inflated ego as an actor and you're just like need to be knocked down a few pegs, or I think you're the complete opposite and kind of self-deprecating and constantly picking yourself apart. And I think it's probably pretty hard to find somebody who's right in the middle.
There's a whole like arc in 30 Rock about that, if you've ever seen it.
Oh yeah.
Where she like, the writer of the show is always dealing with this actress that's like locks herself in her dressing room and throws these tantrums and whatever. And then later she becomes the star of a show and she's like under the microscope and she starts like the roles are reversed essentially and she starts freaking out.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's a part she locked herself in her dressing room, and the actress is like, I don't know why you guys never took the door off its hinges and like, stuff like that, So, yeah, I'm sure being under the microscope and every like way you portray yourself all the time is like being criticized or analyzed. Yeah, so it's got to be tough.
Yeah, he still whenever he did the Princess Bride panel, he's like, I don't get why people like me. I don't get why people come to hear me talk. Because you're awesome.
He's so funny and he was so good in it.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm going to write him a letter.
You do it.
You should.
Wallace Shawn.
Keep us updated if he writes back.
Yes.
Let's start there.
You know what? He probably would. He told us he doesn't own a TV, so he's a bit of an eccentric fellow, but he seems to love the craft. So with that, best supporting actor. Leah?
Fred Savage. He's a great actor. Like,
he's so cute.
as a kid, he was in, what was the Little Monsters? Is that what that movie was called? He was
Yes.
in that. He was like the main character in that, so he did a good job. And I thought he was great. He was like Fred Savage in that movie was all of us listening to that story.
He really was. Yeah.
And he did just such a great job at like little kid outrage when the story wasn't going right, or being afraid at the right moments. And I just thought he did a great job.
That's a good one. He's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my reactions as a 13, 14-year-old. Why am I going to watch a movie called The Princess Bride with a bunch of other guys? Why is this being presented to me by a male?
This is a kissing book.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I do not want to see a romantic comedy at 13, 14. So this was awesome. And Youth Pastor in the grandfather role wisely knew. Best supporting actor, Lizzy.
I put Wallace Shawn here. I think he's only on screen for about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But I think in doing that, he completely elevates the movie for me.
So this was better than his role in My Dinner with André.
Yes.
Would it have been better if it was My Dinner with André the Giant?
Yes. Oh my gosh. That would have been an awesome parody of putting the two together.
That would be a 3-hour movie because André the Giant would not get those giant soliloquies out of the way quickly.
Yeah. I appreciated that now that movie's in my list of films that I've seen, but I don't ever plan on revisiting it.
You can experience something once and that's fine.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Like, I appreciate you. I'm not, I have no hard feelings, but I'm done.
It's like reading some of those books in high school and you're like, I did it. I read it.
Yes,
I'm glad I read it.
exactly.
I will never read it again.
Do you ever have to read The Agony and the Ecstasy?
No.
As a kid, my dad we would joke that the agony is reading the book and the ecstasy is
finishing it.
Nice.
That was My Dinner with André.
That's fair. That was my dealer's choice, but I kind of feel the same way.
We're just going to find every way we can hurt Chad's feelings today.
No, I felt the same way. I watched it and I just kind of went, oh no, and held my breath for that entire podcast. I knew. It's a fun movie. Well,
it's not that bad. I'm teasing it, but I am being honest that I won't watch it again. But it's really not that bad. I've seen way worse.
Yeah. We'll submit it to someone. It's going to be like the Ring tape. Like we've seen it. Somebody else will have to get this.
And make somebody else watch it within 7 days.
Yeah,
or Wallace Shawn will haunt your dreams.
You'll get a call from André that's like, you'll never guess where I've been up to for the past 30
I was in Borneo with people that don't wear coats. Yeah. Completely derailed. But yeah, Wallace Shawn is my best supporting as well. I think Vicini's an iconic villain and it's just manic perfection. I love everything about it.
The way he laughs before he keels over.
Yes.
So good. So good.
Yeah. It's everything about that scene is amazing. Hidden gem. And we have so many minor cast roles to appreciate. Leah, who is your underappreciated minor cast or element?
I was between the albino and the guy that plays the very old king.
Okay.
This
fantastic.
The scene where she's walking, Buttercup's walking with him and she's like, I'm going to go commit suicide now. And he's like, that's nice, dear. And she kisses him on the cheek and he's like, oh, she kissed me.
Just that grandfatherly, won't that be nice?
Yeah. Well, he has no idea what's going on.
I love that.
I put Billy Crystal for this one because when, as I said before, upon watching it, I had no idea that was actually Billy Crystal. And so to be able to figure that out was a huge treat for me. And that whole entire encounter with him and his wife, that can't be more than 5 minutes, but kind of in the same vein as Wallace Shawn in his part in the movie. It's just, it really does just make it so much better.
Genius. Perfection.
Yes.
No notes.
I wonder how much of that was improv. I couldn't find I'm sure Billy Crystal did a ton of it just off the cuff.
I mean, if he had them rolling as much as they said he did, I bet he was playing around with the dialogue a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of a kind. I love that scene. For me, it is the priest. His name's Peter Cook, and he goes by the impressive clergyman. And I say priest. Yes. Everyone immediately goes to that. The wav, twoo wav. And
why did no one say that correctly in the movie?
It's our theme. We get twoo wav, but it's a ridiculous scene. And once again, we have Humperdinck of get on with it, man and wife. And I've also got to throw out to the woman, and I couldn't find her name. She's just the one that shouts boo all the time. Margery Mason. Okay. Excellent.
Boo! Oh, she's good
like
too,
the names she calls her too.
Yeah.
The queen of garbage.
Yeah. Putrid refuse.
Yeah, that is very much like Dennis the peasant from Monty Python, where he's just insulting King Arthur at the same time. Yeah, she is fantastic, and they get the close-up shot of her just railing against Buttercup.
Just a haggard, angry woman.
Yes. I don't like this question for this episode, but Leah, you've teased us with a recast. Who are you recasting in this movie?
I'm gonna suck all the air out of the room with everything I planned. Do you really want to hear this?
I do.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's go for it.
Okay, so because this original version is untouchable, and I would not change anything about what was done in 1987, I was imagining if we somehow did a remake or some kind of retelling today.
Love it. Okay.
So Anya Taylor-Joy as Buttercup.
Okay.
Timothy Chalamet.
Just throwing everyone.
Okay.
I think he could rise to the occasion.
Yeah, I think he could.
For Prince Humperdinck, I was between the guy that played Draco Malfoy, so Tom Felton.
Yes.
Okay.
Or the guy that played Joffrey from Game of Thrones. I can't remember that kid's name. Yes. I think he quit acting, but
he did.
Just so slappable. You
yes.
know, so slappable.
Yeah, that's probably why he quit.
Count Rugen, Tom Hiddleston.
Perfect choice.
Okay.
Just big villain energy right there.
Yes.
The Sicilian, Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, stop it. That's really funny. That's good. I like that
The giant. I mean, I don't know who else would pick. So is The Rock. I think he's too confident.
Yeah.
But
you never know, though. He's got some chops.
You know what? He's getting pretty good at acting. So we're gonna give him a chance. The grandson, why don't we flip it? Make it a granddaughter, Bella Ramsey, because I'm deep in The Last of Us right now.
Yep.
Okay.
The grandfather, if Mandy Patinkin would come back.
Yeah.
Or
that would be fun.
Not, Jeff Goldblum.
I love him. He is so quirky. I love him so much.
Okay, Miracle Max, Christopher Walken.
Perfect.
Valerie, Lily Tomlin.
Okay.
That would be fun. Yeah.
I think that'd be funny.
Ancient Booer, I thought would be fun. Give Helen Mirren a chance to just do something nasty.
Yes, she'd be so good at it. She's so proper all the time.
I know. Give her a chance to spread her wings as the hag in the beginning. And then the albino, I was feeling Matt Lucas. He was the host on Great British Bake Off. He's not an albino, but he does have alopecia, so that might be why I thought of him.
Maybe.
But he has kind of that vibe. So if you watch Great British Bake Off, he was the host with Noel Fielding. Yeah, that's his name. Until recently. So
nice.
That was my plan.
I'd begrudgingly watch it. I don't think you could make it a granddaughter, though, because I think it has to be that boy energy of, I don't want this story to happen.
I mean,
I don't want kissing.
Bella Ramsey plays a good tomboy.
That's true.
She does. She was a good tomboy. I'm always reluctant whenever there's a new reimagining of a movie, but regardless, it will never stop me from buying a ticket and seeing it. I'd pay to see it.
I mean, or
Yeah.
you flip it and Fred Savage is reading to his kid, or he's not old enough for a
that's cute.
grandkid, but it could be a continuing and just a reimagining because different people are hearing the story now.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm on board with that. That would be
Fred
good.
Savage, work on it.
Okay.
You're a fan of the show and you're listening.
Yeah, Fred Savage, John Lithgow, they all listen to this show.
That's right.
John Lithgow, getting him in this movie would be great. He could be a fun king.
He would actually probably make a great Vizzini.
Yes, he would.
Yeah.
I think he would.
Yeah, he can do that manic energy too. Lizzy, who are you recasting?
So I'm recasting Humperdinck. I think.
Okay.
I don't think I think he could have been sillier. So I put Jeffrey Jones. I think that he was kind of. When I think of Jeffrey Jones in his prime, I think of him and Beetlejuice and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I think he would have been so funny in medieval clothes on a horse, and just like that, he has that kind of same energy as, oh my gosh, his name is Joe Pesci. He has that kind of like same Joe Pesci energy in the sense where he gets really angry, but he can't quite express what he wants to say. So it just kind of comes out with like big hand gestures and this like shaky tone to his voice. And I think that would have been funny to add like a little extra camp to Humperdinck.
I do love Jeffrey Jones. He was just in the Ravenous episode that we did, so I was excited to see him. But is he handsome enough for Humperdinck?
I mean, no, not
Does he need to
necessarily,
be?
but I don't really think he needs to be. I don't ever really the actor that plays Humperdinck is certainly, he's attractive, but I don't think that that's necessarily something.
He's
that
always
sticks
got
out
like
to
a
him.
nasty scowl on his face.
Yeah.
He's more about, he's just, ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just I didn't know if that was an element of Humperdinck, if like he's handsome but also a complete scumbag. But maybe it might be funnier if it's a Shrek type situation.
Yeah. I think it would be like, it just kind of almost yields itself to him being like all the more undesirable.
Okay. Leah did mention one of my recasts. I'm going to completely waste Helen Mirren's time too. Anne Dyson is playing the Queen here. The Queen has no role. I don't want to recast anyone in this movie, but fine if I have to. Helen Mirren, go play the Queen. Have
Just
no
background
lines?
acting. Should be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Completely waste your time. There you go, Russell. My criteria is met. Best shot, Leah?
I guess I'd have to say the fight scene.
Hmm.
The sword fight scene.
Yeah.
They put a lot of work into that. It was very exciting. And the dialogue while they were doing it was great. So just great work.
Yeah, you have the uphill fencing. Oh, that is fantastic. Yeah. Lizzy?
I like their little silhouettes in the very beginning when they're, he's still a farm boy and they fall in love and they have this big embrace and it's just like their little silhouettes in the sunset. I think that's just such a sweet shot. And that was something that I remember sticking out to me as a kid, and kid being 18. But it still feels so long ago. But that was also like the prime point in my life where I appreciated romance. And so I loved that scene.
Oh, that's criticism to the husband. You've now reached the point where it's like romance is dead.
No, I appreciate romance. That was just the time where I was longing for it, I suppose. I was not to clarify, I was in no way, shape, or form being romanced when I was 18.
Okay. All right. Good save.
No, Aaron is a great romancer, but I think that was the time where I was watching those movies and just being like, oh, that would be so nice. Like, I want someone to do that. That was kind of more the point.
Yeah, I think like part of this too is Wesley is just like the whole package. If you think about it,
Totally.
Attractive, accomplished, is super smart.
He'll
like
fill up her buckets with water and
Yeah.
carry them for her. That's
easy to boss around. Apparently, everything
Yes.
I want in a man.
I would say if I went up to Aaron and was like, Aaron, will you fetch me that picture? And it's literally right in front of me.
Well, he
probably
did get really
doesn't.
close to her, and like you could interpret that as like being a little
Yeah.
like passive aggressive or intimidating. I don't think that's like you don't take it in the movie, but like
Yeah.
that's probably how Brent would do it. He would walk up and grab it right in front of my face
Yes, exactly.
and be like, "Here you go, Miss Broken Arms." Like,
Yeah, I definitely liked their little romance in the beginning for sure.
There's no way I would pass that test.
That's true.
But yeah. Sarah has not played those games with me, but if she did, I'd just be like, it's right there.
Yeah,
Get it.
yeah.
You get it. Romance is dead in our house. I love my wife, and now I've got to plan something for our anniversary. If she
Get her a
listens to the
Nickelback
show,
CD.
that would be the truest expression of love on my part.
Nickelback's best.
It's love is sacrifice, Chad.
Yes.
Nickelback's greatest hits.
I hope that doesn't exist. I'm going to move on.
I mean, you go on Spotify, it's the best of Nickelback. I bet you $1 million it's
That
there.
tickles me. That is really
No.
funny.
The best of Nickelback playlist is empty.
Sorry, Sarah, we love you.
Yes, we
It's an empty playlist. It's a joke. Best shot for me is the prayer scene for Inigo. He is in the forest. There's this nice beam of light in the background. They're really kind of camping it up for this prayer scene. And it was apparently really hard to shoot because where they were filming in England, there were planes flying overhead and it kept interrupting the shot. And you can't have that when he's praying to his dead father. I think it came out really nicely. And it's corny too, like guide my sword, and he pokes the knothole.
Yeah, but he pokes it and he just thinks he failed, and then he slumps over on it, and that's what opens it up. So
Yeah.
kind of nice.
Yeah, it's nice to see that connection with his father. So best scene, good luck. Leah, what's your favorite scene?
I have a couple, and it's more centered around some of the quotes in this movie because it's an incredible incredibly quotable movie. But you know, the the part where Wesley knocks or like he chokes out the giant and he falls to the ground and he says, "I hope you sleep well and dream of large women."
Yes.
Or I hope you rest well and dream of large women. And the other one
Like
that I like is, well, earlier on when he's in front of the Spaniard and he's like, "Who are you?" And he goes, "Get used to disappointment." Or he's like, "I'm listening,"
Yes.
you know?
yes.
And then, you know, when he's right before Buttercup figures out who he is, this is all like within the same almost 5 minutes. She talks about this love she had and he kind of is needling her because he's salty that she moved on, you know, and she says, "You mock my pain." And he says, "Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something."
Yes, that is a
that's such a good
fantastic
quote.
line.
Good quote.
Yeah.
The fight with André is a fun little wink to André the Giant because that was actually his finishing move. That was his wrestling finishing move, was the sleeper
nice.
hold. So he gets put out with that. And they also, Vicini makes a comment of you can't trust people in masks. And at one point, André the Giant wore a mask during his wrestling career. So they had a couple of fun little pokes at him for that. But yeah, all those lines and all those scenes are just fantastic. I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
No, you can pick anything in this movie.
Lizzy, what's your best scene?
It's really hard to pick just one, as we've just said. So I feel like the combined sequence where with the Sicilian and the poison, like from that all the way to when Wesley and Buttercup are fighting and she's like, "I died that day when
You could die too for all I care."
Like, and they're just like rolling down the hill. Like that whole, I don't know if you could combine all of that together and consider that just one big scene, but that whole entire sequence is just so funny. Like watching Wallace Shawn be like, "Well, I'm a clever man," and a clever
Yeah,
man,
he reasons out.
just like completely goes like, "So I couldn't trust it to be the cup in front of me," and like just goes back and forth, and it's complete gold.
He says, like, "You truly have a dizzying intellect," or something.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, his pure exhaustion by Vicini of, like, are we done yet? Have you selected a cup? Mostly because he knows they're both poison. It doesn't matter, but yeah, the sheer overconfidence. That's my favorite scene. I like the battle of wits. It's just amazing. It makes me laugh every time. I have no idea how Wallace Shawn is able to just spit out everything that he does. It's like, okay, have you made your choice? I haven't yet started.
Getting started. Yeah.
Yes. He's just, everything about that is amazing. Best wardrobe and makeup moment. Leah, I think I know where you're going to go.
Miracle Max.
Yes.
Who I guess he wanted to look like his grandma, so I'll
Well,
never not think about that again.
Poor grandma.
well done, SNL cast. Lizzy, what's your moment?
It's like a blink and you miss it scene, but it's the grandpa's reading the part of the book where it's 5 years later and now Buttercup is promised to Prince Humperdinck, and she walks out of the castle kind of as like presenting his new bride to be to his subjects, and she's wearing this really, really pretty dress and headpiece that's all gold and pearls, and I think it's so pretty. I mean, even still to this day, like I feel like I get like all like butterflies looking at it, because I'm just like, that is a gown and that is a headpiece, and it's gorgeous.
She had a couple of those kind of strange headpieces on. She has a couple of those marriage scenes, the fake outs and then the real wedding.
They're all really pretty. Like all of her pieces are so gorgeous, but that one in particular with like the gold and pearls mixed together, I just think is so timeless. And I would want that to be my outfit
if you were a princess.
If I was a princess, yes.
All right, that's great. I went with Miracle Max too. You can't get around it. The not knowing it's Billy Crystal outside the voice, he's great. And I'm sure his grandmother was very happy. So if she was around, it's like, oh yeah,
Hopefully he didn't tell her.
Yeah.
Kind of rude. This ugly hag of a man. This was inspired by you, your picture.
Grandma.
Change one thing. Leah, what are you changing in this movie?
Every movie has a weaker plot point. For me, they kind of deus ex machina'd this Holocaust cloak out of nowhere. First of all, like, they don't explain why it's called a Holocaust cloak whatsoever. It's been a while since I read the book. I think it was probably more explained in the book. But he's just like, oh, I've got this thing right here and it catches on fire, no problem. And you're like, oh, great.
Max gave it to me. Yeah.
That was a little weak to me, but that's nitpicky. You have to give some things up to meet an hour and a half movie length. So, you know what? I'll let it slide, but that was my thing.
Convenient Holocaust cloak. Yep. That fits.
The name of my next band.
Lizzy?
I always thought that Wesley should have had a better disguise when he was the dreadful pirate robber.
Everyone's stupid. No one can recognize like Buttercup can't recognize him.
Yes, I'm like, how much do you really love him? Because it's kind of the same, like, I love Batman, but that's always kind of my harp on Batman, where you're like, it's literally just his eyes are blacked out and he has a mask.
And he talks like this.
Yes, like you can see his nose and his mouth, and like it's Bruce Wayne. Like you can clearly tell who that is. And if Aaron was walking around like that,
or if I showed up with that mask on, would you be like, "Oh no, someone's robbing me"?
No, I'd just be like, "Leo, why? What's up?" Like,
what a choice you made today.
Yeah, I mean, you look beautiful and everything, but that was a choice.
That's a very sweet compliment. But
yeah, I think there's no, and he's not even hiding his voice. When he talks about how he begged, or at this point he's using his own story, but kind of in reverse, saying that he's like, oh yeah, I remember your farm boy. And all he said was, please Please, I have to
And this
live.
airhead's just looking
Yeah.
at him
Like, how do you not know? Like, how are you not clocking him right now? So I think
maybe that's why he was so mad. He was like, how do you not know what I look like?
So he needed a better disguise.
What kind of true love is this?
Yeah.
I'm going to dismiss that as just trauma because she's like, he's dead. I'm trying to move on. It's been 5 years. I'm told he's dead. That's how I'm going to write it out because I look at this and I'm going to twist the quote, but there's a shortage of perfect movies in this world. It would be a pity to change this one.
Yes.
Yes.
It's been 200 episodes. I have never refused to answer this question. I'm punting this one. I am changing nothing. Nothing I would do would make this movie better.
This is a masterpiece.
It really is.
Best quote. Gosh, again. Good luck. Leah?
I kind of got ahead of myself here and shared them all. But I think like my absolute favorite is the life is pain highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something. It's just, I mean, it's kind of sad, but it's food for thought.
It is food for thought.
Yeah.
I had that on my AIM profile for years and years.
Oh my gosh, throwback.
Yes.
Weirdly, so did I.
Stop
Very
it.
nice.
That's so
Very
funny.
nice.
And then I had it, in Facebook, we used to put all kinds of quotes and stuff in there.
Yes.
I had that next to a quote from that 70s show where it's the one where they go streaking. And he's like, I'm going to do something like, right, I hate the fuzz on my butt. And Fez goes, well, if you hate the fuzz on your butt, just shave it off. So those two quotes were together.
Both equally poignant.
Yes. That was a great moment when Red's trying to ask, why did you pardon Nixon?
Yeah. That's a pretty good show.
Yeah. Lizzy, what's your favorite quote?
So there's so many, truly. And I love how this movie was able to make me laugh so hard with just like such smart humor. But I think for me, it was the death cannot stop true love. All it can do is delay it for a while. Because to me, that is, it's a sweet quote. It is a really nice quote. And that kind of becomes like more and more true for me, as we get older and experience life. So I love that quote.
Oh, see, now I've got to ruin it by not being serious. Like two very serious quotes. But I just love the banter. So at the very end with Vicini, no more rhymes now. I mean it. Anybody want a peanut? And then we just hear, from Vicini in frustration. That entire exchange where he's just trying to come up with rhymes with Inigo. That's great.
So in the book, Inigo would start to do these like rhyming games with the giant when Vicini had been picking on him and making him feel bad. So he would do that to like take his mind off of it.
Oh,
that's cute.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to have to go and read the book now. Like,
I have like 3 copies. I can mail you one.
Such high praise on your end of better than the movie. And we're about to find out what you think of that. So Leah, we will start with you. 0 to 5 stars and half
5.
star in 5. Didn't even get it out. 5 stars. Lizzy?
For me, I'm 5 stars as well. I think we've already touched on why this movie is just, it's untouchable. It's a classic. It's just, there's a little bit of everything in it. And I could quite literally finish this movie and then press play again.
Oh yeah.
And just never get sick of it. And to me, that is such a staple of
rewatchability is a huge factor in the star rating for sure.
I agree. And I've tipped my hand too. It's 5 stars. I think it's a perfect film.
We have quorum on that.
Yeah.
I think we had quorum on Shrek too. I think Shrek got 5 stars
Yes.
from all of us.
There's more arguments of Shrek not being a perfect film, but I still love it. This one, there's nothing I could change or should change that would improve it. I just think it's magic, and I'm sitting there smiling. My wife, she jumped in and she goes, "You're watching The Princess Bride?" We're watching The Princess Bride.
Yes.
And so that was our movie night. She just keeps looking over at me, and I'm like, "What? It's so charming." I have
Did
this
she
big
not like
grin.
it?
I think she's more entertained that I may like it more than her. Like she looks at this movie and just thinks, okay, this is more, I don't know if she thinks it's more of a chick flick or what, but she looks over at me and I've got a big grin and like, I'm smitten with this movie. It's charming.
You got to repeat back what the grandfather says at the beginning. It's got everything. It's got revenge.
Yes.
It's got sword fighting.
Yes. I can appreciate, though, where she's coming from, because traditionally you are into like horror and movies.
Evil Dead Rise. Yeah.
Such a deviation from this movie. So she's probably just like elated that you're into something that's sweet and innocent.
Yes, absolutely no one got mutilated in this movie.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
it wouldn't have made it better either. That is fantastic. And good luck to our next movie, which Lizzy is going to help me pick. So, Lizzy, it's time for some thrills, chills, and mystery. We have 3 supernatural mystery thrillers to choose from. Option number 1, from 2001, Mulholland Drive. After a car wreck on the winding Mulholland Drive renders a woman amnesiac, she and a perky Hollywood hopeful search for clues and answers across Los Angeles in a twisting venture beyond dreams and reality. Option 2, The X-Files from 1998. Mulder and Scully must fight the government in a conspiracy and find the truth about an alien colonization of Earth. Or Option 3, Mothman Prophecies from 2002. A reporter is drawn to a small West Virginia town to investigate a series of strange events, including psychic visions and the appearance of bizarre entities.
Before you pick, Chad, you're in West Virginia, right?
Yes. Well, I'm in Pittsburgh, but yeah,
You're
I'm
Pittsburgh
from there.
now, so you're from West Virginia. The Mothman Prophecies, was that like a real urban legend there?
Oh my goodness, it's a huge thing. There are statues. There's Mothman Day. Like, it's much better than the movie, because the movie actually features no Mothman.
You guys need more stuff to do out there. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's fine.
I love Mothman Prophecies. I think it's a great movie. I also have seen X-Files. It's wouldn't file it under as great as Mothman Prophecies, but I'm going to have to go with Mulholland Drive. I've never seen it, so it's going to give me an opportunity to check it out.
Yeah, that will be a new one for me too, so I'm excited for that. Leah, thank you once again for rejoining us. This has been great. Keep sending us great movies. You can keep coming back. Keep picking this stuff.
I'm going to keep suggesting Ghostbusters until you let me do it.
Russell will never allow it unless he is on the podcast. Yes,
Russell, we're going to do that movie together.
Yes. Yeah, that'll be an all hands on deck probably type movie. There are fights for those types of movies, but thank you, Leah, and thank you all the lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable. We invite you to reach out to us. We want to hear from you, so subscribe, rate, review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Pandora, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to us on YouTube. It's audio only, so if you're looking to see our beautiful faces, we have faces for radio. Subscribe. Give us a like on Facebook, Instagram. Follow us on Twitter at movie_retro. And finally, email us at retromovieroundtable@yahoo.com. So producing and providing this podcast is fun, but it is not free. So we invite you to support the show at Patreon page, patreon.com/retromovieroundtable. Any contributions make us richer and will apparently make the show better for you, the listeners. So as always, thank you for listening. Be good to each other and watch more movies. Lizzy?
Let's face it, you got to be a man to wear tights.